They can't see it yet, but the shoulders are moving.
Are they? Oh, you got a groove going?
I got a groove going.
Let's see.
I'm gonna try not to lose it.
Oh, I'll put you on. There's nobody here yet. It's just us.
It's there. Oh, they're here. We just can't see them yet.
They'll start checking.
What's going on, Gary?
I'm doing all right, my man.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. This place looks beautiful right now.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like I'm one with nature. Yet there's still something while I'm sitting here. Just like that whole, maybe something's watching me. Maybe I'm not alone in the woods. You know that feeling?
No, because I don't go to
Other
the
than
woods
the
that
bugs.
often.
Yeah.
I don't go hanging out in the woods like you do, my man.
Dude, last night was insane for me. I had a really crazy night last night.
I saw you. Where were you? There was some sort of like brick fireplace thing, and you were walking around. You saw some weird like Blair Witch kind of sculptures hanging from trees. What's all that?
So I have no idea what any of it is. The spirits were talking about bound spirits and witch ladders, and come to find out, I learned this all on that live. A witch ladder is basically a bunch of items, mainly nature items, sticks, bones, crystals, rocks, feathers, things like that, strung together. They're usually used for all sorts of spells. I walking in there was atrocious. Like it is just so dense, and there's just like pricker bushes everywhere, and it's just insane. Like it's literally like you feel like a bear walking through the woods, right? And coming in there, I couldn't see anything. And as I'm sitting there, and I bet you some people in the live may have noticed too, like I was just very straightforward. I wasn't as jokey, joking around. I kept looking around. I was using the thermal, maybe more than I should have. Not jumping at every sound, but really just like aware of my surroundings. And what do you know? When I went for that walk at midnight, we're walking around, and then bam, we spot the first one, and then I see another one. And then
you were talking about like a trap, and you were mad at yourself for walking into a trap. What does that mean?
Yes, dude. Like it literally, like the way it was set up, and then one of the spirits said something about me taking the bait, and then that's when I was like, oh crap, I'm walking in a trap. Who knows if I disturb the wrong thing or touch the wrong thing. Luckily, I didn't touch it.
Well, what is a trap? Like, what could the trap possibly have been?
Oh, who knows? That's the thing. Who knows? Maybe they wanted me to release something. Maybe they were hoping that I would, get involved with something there. I don't know. That's the thing. You just don't know.
Well, why were you mad at yourself though? You said you were like rookie move. You got real mad.
I said it was a novice move. Just not realizing that, because they were talking about like a triangle, like the witch ladder triangles or something like that, or the ladder triangles. And I'm standing in the middle of it, and I'm like, wait a minute, like what idiot does that? Oh, this idiot, like why would you think about it? If you're in the woods and all of a sudden you come across these weird totem things hanging in the woods, and they're in the shape of a triangle, and you have no idea what's going on, why would you go walk in the middle of it?
Right.
And it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk in the middle of this, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I could be getting involved in something very stupid. So, because it's unknown, you don't know what you're dealing with.
Fair enough.
Plus, I don't know how long those have been hanging there. They look like they were they've been through it. They look like they've been hanging there.
It's
for a while.
Weird, dude. Like, why would they? Yeah. It's so weird.
But there's always been witchcraft happening back there. It's been a very common, from middle school kids going back there pretending to be the craft, to advanced witches. So
people are weird.
It's a known spot for it.
People are strange. Without
Well,
question.
depending on why they're going in the woods and doing things, yes.
And but
They
like,
want to
let's build some triangles out of bones or whatever sticks.
yeah,
It's creepy. Even no
yeah,
matter what it is, it's creepy, right? I mean,
yeah.
it's just So I was telling you briefly, and as we wait for our guest, we have a fun guest today on this live. Hopefully she's gonna get
Awesome.
logged in okay. I'm sure she'll text me otherwise. But I'm just gonna check my phone, make sure. We've got a fun guest today, and she'll be on soon, and we'll talk to her, and I'll tee everybody up. But as we get caught on, okay, she's in our waiting room. We'll get, you know what? I'll save this story later. I don't want to keep her waiting too long. So
Bring her
while
in.
she's sitting there, so it'll be a fun one. So let me just tell everybody who we've got today. So I'm going to read this out to everybody. She's super fun, and I'll tell you why I love her. So look, since 2019, Rebekah the Ghost Guide has been helping audiences to better understand the ghosts around them and within them. She has shared her experiences with millions through skits. And this is great too, because it's all like, dude, everybody's so dismal in the paranormal space, John, as you and I always talk about. What she does is she relates her stories and her experiences, and she creates these skits where she like acts out both parts, and they're fun.
Oh, they're
It's just
great.
like
They're great.
it's just a
They're
fun
great.
way to tell it, as
No.
opposed to like, how many, like it's just all, everybody's always so dark about it. So she does these through skits based on interaction with ghosts in a collective. I mean, she has over, when you add them all up, she has almost 900,000 followers on TikTok alone. Then you start getting into YouTube, Instagram, Patreon. She's out there. And what she really does that's really interesting is, she does courses, community and workshops, community programs, where she helps people at every level of spiritual perception feel more grounded and confident in their abilities, right? So she has a very unique perspective on ghost relationships. And she got a little notoriety because, she went public with the fact that she actually like was in a relationship with a ghost, which we will talk to at the end.
She took the step, huh?
She took a step. I want to
She
know
took
more
that
about
step.
that. And,
Wow.
we'll see what that all means. But I'm going to have her join in right now. I want everybody to welcome kindly Rebekah the Ghost Guide. As soon as I figure out what to do, we're live. I have no engineers.
Hey.
There she is.
Wow, guys, thanks for that very kind intro. I appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I super appreciate that you reached out, and I've been following along since. And I really like what you bring to the table as far as grounded spiritualism, open-mindedness. But once again, I really hone in on the people who are out there being like, yeah, we don't know everything, but we might one day.
No, everything. I barely know anything. So it's like that's
Yep, exactly.
It's very simple for me, and which is why I enjoy getting all sorts of different perspectives on this, and yours included here. Rebekah, I want to start out asking this question to every guest we have, which is this, and I'd love to hear your theory on it. So, Rebekah, what are spirits, and what do you think happens when we die?
All right. Well, I will try to simplify that answer because I can go on and on and on about the things that I found out over the years. And one of the coolest things that I've been lucky enough to experience is being able to talk to people from literally all over the world, learning from their perspectives, and also tapping into various components of those perspectives so that I can create an even larger understanding of something that I didn't have as much understanding of not that long ago. So, oh goodness. When it comes to spirits, and I'm going to specifically talk about ghosts here, and one of the things that I teach about is there are different frequencies or dynamics of spirits. So a ghost is not going to be the same frequency as a deity or a higher power, or I encourage people to utilize their own language, what resonates with them, rather than, just me coming on the scene and being like, this is how it is. No, I want to learn from everybody. I want to learn from everybody's experience. So when looking at ghosts specifically, what I oftentimes see is when somebody passes, if there is a part of them that the common terminology has unfinished business, right? Or if there's a part of them that is being held back by some kind of connection that they have to something in the physical, sometimes that can create a piece of themselves. So you can have a larger form of the soul that moves on. And that's where people talk about, oh, they're in a better place. They've learned about this, that, and the other. Yes, but you can also have the part of the soul that went through some kind of traumatic experience or got very attached to like their favorite chair or something like that, or very attached to their body. You know, some folks do follow themselves or get reawoken. I think that's the right word. When something happens to their body, let's say their grave has been messed with, or it's just not being taken care of, or something like that. And so parts of that energy can connect. That would explain more of the ghost, but it doesn't have to contradict that some people, due to, and this is where I kind of get into the more why I think mental health is so important. Some people, when they have unchecked mental health things or experiences or something like that, it's those pieces of them that can still be somewhere else. So once again, even though like I sit here and I tell my stories and nobody has to believe them, that's really not the point. I'm very much an advocate for mental health because I don't want people to feel like they have to leave themselves behind or a part of themselves behind when they can acknowledge that part and heal from that part and really do a solid move on, whatever that means for them.
Rebekah, are you religious? I mean, a lot of what you're saying, just so I get I want a full picture here of like what you're talking about, like moving on, or they're here, or they go somewhere. Are you a religious person? Is there a faith behind what you're talking? Because you use the word, there's deities and things like that. So what, do you have a faith, religious background, and that's what you're applying to some of this theory?
So I grew up in a religious background, and the more I learned about the history of different religions, the more I learned about mythology from different places, the more I learned about how that affected culture, the more open-minded I became. I consider myself a polytheist with Quaker morals, but not necessarily Christian morals. There's a different kind of code of or standard to Quakerism. Some Quakers do not identify as Christian, but that's a whole other different thing.
Let's not get started on Christian morals.
Yeah.
That's a juxtaposition in and of itself in so many ways, but go ahead.
Yeah. But basically, to answer your question as far as like what I believe in the beyond, I believe in a lot of things. I believe, because I've talked to past loved ones too, and some of them, they'll tell their person, they're like, hey, tell them I'm in heaven. And I'm just like, is that your heaven? And they're just like, well, I just want them to believe that I'm in heaven. I don't want them to be upset. Now, does that say that heaven doesn't exist? No. It's more of there are a lot of different places that we can go to. Sometimes it's to be with other ancestors. Sometimes it's to be with the found family that we make. Sometimes it's to come back as guides for people that we love. Sometimes it's just to stick around with people that we love. And other times it's, whether they move on to another form of the afterlife. There are loads of afterlives. For some people, they kind of make their own afterlife. And I really come about readings and my own personal understanding with that very open-minded perspective of they get to tell me what they're experiencing. I'm not going to sit there and tell them and be like, oh, well, clearly you're in the light. No, I work with a lot of ghosts that are scared sometimes. Sometimes they don't think they deserve heaven or to move on or some kind of happiness due to their own trauma. So I work with everybody on a one-on-one basis to be like, okay, well, if heaven kind of freaks you out, if you don't think you're good enough for that, where's a happy memory? Like, can you go to that? Can you connect with family? I do a lot of different work to help ghosts. All the same, I'm not one of those mediums that's like, every ghost should go to the light because something's wrong with them. No, I mean, obviously I've befriended ghosts and I'm just like, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to sit around and watch? Great, cool. So long as you're not in a bad space or upset about that, and you're not upsetting other people, doesn't upset me.
When did you realize?
Speaking of
go ahead, John.
Ghosts and befriending ghosts, I think one of the first times I came across the video skits you do between you and the spirit, which are amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Timothy, is that the correct name? Was it Timothy?
Timothy.
Timothy, yes, Timothy. Oh, those are so good, so awesome. I was watching those advocacy. Those are awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. You got to check out Rebekah's profile, everybody, and it's as simple as the name on the screen. It's at Rebekah the Ghost Guide, so you can find her there. Rebekah, when did you realize you had these gifts? When did you first embrace this idea that you were a medium or a clairvoyant, or how would you define what it is? that when you discovered it?
Yeah.
What's the story behind it? What's that
Oh.
first moment?
Well, it's a mental health journey. I'll tell you that first.
Okay.
I talk to people all the time who we discover that they had psychic sensibilities from a very young age. And a lot of people, you talk to kids and, it's that whole like, oh, there's a monster in the closet, da 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 da. I used to think I was making up my monster until the next family that moved in, the kid also described what I was seeing. So you have these kids with their imaginary friends, or they're talking to a corner, or they know things about their grandmother that they never met, or they can describe these things. And then roughly around the age of 5, a lot of social conditioning comes in. We start telling the kids, hey, that's not real, right? There's nobody over there. Stop talking about that. We want them to fit in with society, of course. And so we try to put them into cookie cutter molds so that, we don't want them to be made fun of. We don't want them to have a hard life. My hard mold was, being raised Southern Baptist. There was no explanation for what I was seeing. I saw colors around people. I saw auras, didn't know what that was. I would see figures in my house. Later, I found out that other people living in my house saw the same figures that we.
And where are you? What part of the country are you? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up outside of Greensboro, North Carolina. It's a small town named Jamestown.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. It was wild, the things that I found out much later on in life. We even have some wild things that were captured on video of like quote unexplained things like moving around the house. It totally freaked us out when we all like watched that together. But as I mentioned, I turned it off. And this is something I tell people a lot too. A lot of people, they're not blocked by something external. They're blocked by what keeps them safe. They're blocked with the understanding of like, ooh, me talking about my quote imaginary friend doesn't really make me friends in school, and it makes, people make fun of me or something like that. So we put on the blocks. I had the block of fear of hell and damnation and all of that. Well, it was during like my early teens, I had another spike. We also see this a lot with teenagers, where they start seeing stuff because they have so many things going on at once. I was the same too, but I was terrified of it because I would talk about it. Once again, everybody around me would be like, no, that's no. So I shoved it back down. I was like, I'm not seeing stuff. I eventually managed to turn off most of my skill sets. I turned off my clairvoyance, my ability to psychically see with my eyeballs. I turned off dreaming. I turned off so many things because I just couldn't trust it. College, I had another spike. That's a whole other story because it's college, of course. You go in there and you're just like, whatever. From there, I joined the theater, and it was amazing. And I was a professional producer, performer, and playwright. I worked in DC and New York and around North Carolina. And then the pandemic happened. Couldn't do that anymore. That was not safe. And it was about that time that I started doing ghost tours. I actually live in one of what I consider the most underrated haunted hotspot in the country, which is Wilmington, North Carolina. Look it up. We've experienced everything. There are ghosts everywhere. You walk downtown, they're not hard to find. So I got a job as a ghost tour guide. I was living in a house that my roommate and I called it the bus stop because there were ghosts going in and out all the time. The animals were experiencing things. We would have all kinds of like electrical things going on. I have a whole bunch of stories from the house.
Can I just interrupt you really quickly? So just when you're talking about going from college to theater to this point where now you're doing ghost tours, when did you fully embrace? Because you sort of made a dip there. You were talking about how we were always taught to, to say like, to not say it out loud. When did you make the change and go, no, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm seeing. Was that after Wilmington. College? So that was when you moved. So this is after COVID. So like, that's when you just sort of embraced it. You're like, this has to be what this is.
Well, I had to wake it back up. That a lot of people, they turn off their a natural self-trust. They turn off their natural abilities to see these things. At this point, I don't consider them gifts. I consider them skill sets that I've worked on. Part of my mental health journey was first accepting myself, first coming to terms with my ghost, so to speak, the ghost that I created from my shame and my guilt and my inability to, win at everything. A lot of things happened about that time. A lot of my 20s was spent in various states of hardship, and I had to forgive myself of that. From there, that's when I really started to tap in, because I was just like, all right, I made it this far. I think I'm seeing stuff. I think I'm actually experiencing stuff. There's this whole corner of the internet that's like really excited to hear the stories. And I hadn't come out as a psychic medium because I was like, nah, I'm not a psychic medium. Like, I'm not, that's a lot of responsibility. I just talk to ghosts. Like, I didn't want people putting that on me. I didn't want people to be like, talk to my grandpa. Like, that really freaked me out. So I was just like, I just talk to that guy that's by the dock and just sits there. Like, that's it,
Sounds like somebody else I know, but go ahead.
It sneaks up on you, right? Where it's just like, I'm not a psychic medium. I just have like a bunch of ghost friends. It's fine.
Yeah. Interesting. Yep. Okay.
So yeah,
All right.
my awakening was mental health first, and I keep it as a center point moving forward.
And what's your process to connect with spirits? Like, what is your, I mean, I'm assuming like if you wanted to, you could do it right now, but like, what do you do for yourself to like, what's your way in? What's your, how do you sort of break it? Like, so for John, for example, John is right now joining us from one of his regular haunts at Buckout Road, which is a really, honestly, one of the most haunted places in America. If you believe in all that, and it's, which we do, and it's, the spirits there are insane, and he'll go there with his spirit boxes and have full on conversations and learn about what he's taught, who's there. And then he does the research about it. And then we find out what happened, and it all sort of checks out. Sort of a backwards approach to it, and how we do it. What's your approach when you enter a new place or go to a new thing? How do you go about getting in tune or getting on that frequency?
Amazing. And also thank you for saying that, because I didn't know where you were, and I was just like, there's a guy. So
Okay, hold on. Time out. Let's not get off the train here. But
guy?
while you were about to ask that other question, I saw something. I saw something, right, and it made me even. I saw it, and I was like,
"The side that you turned." Yeah, he's on that side. He's like kind of in front.
Well, okay, so I didn't like see it. It's
Sure.
I describe it as, it's to sound hilarious, but me being an atmospheric thing, right?
Mhm.
So me being in a vat of Jello, and then all of a sudden something enters that vat from the side, from the distance, and the whole thing ripples, and I'm like, that's the only way I can describe it for myself.
All right. Thank you for that description. Do you want to know what a psychic calls that ability?
Well, what is that ability called?
Clairsentience. It's
Clairsentience?
It's the ability to psychically feel. It's the same thing as when we understand there are those around it. Like, let's say you close your eyes, you're in a crowded room, right? But you have to walk forward. But if you're paying attention to the electromagnetic difference around you, you can stop yourself before you actually run into somebody. Without
I do it all the time. I'm blind, basically. I do it all the time. I can also, and funny enough, and I used to and I didn't understand what this was, and I call it like reading the magnetic fields of the room. I'd be in a bar, and if an ex would walk in or somebody I knew would start trouble, I could be at the other end of the bar, not even facing the entrance, and go, "Ah, shit," somebody just walked in that I'm gonna have an issue with or is gonna cause an issue, and it would always be, something would always pop off. So that's funny you describe it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I look. It's we talked about this once in another episode where it's trying to understand. We get a lot of heat, right? Let's take a step back. We get a lot of heat about, or John, I should say, gets a lot of heat about using the apps, right? He likes his ghost apps, and I'll use those apps and I get nothing. I get absolutely nothing. Total dick. It's like a waste. I get the generic, get out, I'm dead, all the stuff that everybody gets. When he uses it, honestly, it's very specific at times and very odd at what happens. And so I look at the apps, and to take a step back, it's like the apps are a tool. They are not the thing. You don't blame a carpenter. You don't blame the hammer when a carpenter messes up your renovation. So what does that mean to me? I always look at it like, as I've gotten into this world now with this guy, that if there's some sort of intuition, right? We all have intuition, right? I get a bad vibe from somebody sometimes when I'm walking, right? We all feel it. And whatever that is, if it's a frequency thing, then some people may have a heightened frequency. And to use yet another metaphor, not everybody can pitch a baseball at 98 miles an hour. Some people can just do it. That's a gift. Like, that is a gift.
Mhm.
You can't train yourself to do it. I'm sorry, you just can't. So I look at this, maybe this is the same thing, where some people are they just have that vibe. So and that's why, like, he'll deny to death he's not a medium of some kind, but we always
Denied
call him sort of,
100% that I'm not a
we
medium.
always call him that there's something going on, because it's just weird. That doesn't happen to everybody.
But listen, I describe it very simply
Mhm.
as, magnetic fields, which I talk about all the time, and the use of logic while talking to spirits.
Mhm.
That's why I don't call myself a medium. I can't channel. I can't, none of that. Like, there needs to be a disturbance in order for me to, like what happened back there,
Mhm.
in order for me to, pick up on something. And yeah.
Yeah. So, one, just to put this out there, you don't have to call yourself anything. Nobody has to call. Like, my biggest fear was when I was like, oh, shoot, if I'm a psychic medium, that means something, right? Nah. You can be spiritually sensitive. You can feel the disturbance in the force. You can be anywhere. And this is why I teach, because I'm just like, look, nobody has to call themselves anyway, like anything. You can still have like a really cool experience and just be you. Like, being psychic, being a medium, being whatever, it doesn't change who you are and how you work.
Yeah.
So
Very,
Rebekah,
very
when you
good.
call
Very
yourself,
true.
Rebekah, when you say you're the ghost guide, is it a guide for people and how they deal with ghosts, or a guide for the ghosts when you interact with them?
That's a really good question, because it's a bit of both. One of the things, and you mentioned something about like the paranormal community, and a lot of it can be very drab and just very triggering and very much like, how did you die? And I know you guys don't do that, which I super appreciate. That's probably why you get a lot of really cool evidence, because the ghosts are like, oh shoot, you don't care about how I died. Oh well,
Yeah, exactly. I try to look for the almost not looking for it, but I
sure,
appreciate the beauty and the para-nature of things, if you will,
absolutely,
and the
yeah.
mundane. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like, hey, when I go to spots, I'm like, so what kind of drink do you like? Like, what kind of candy? Do you like cookies? I brought cookies. Like, I'm that kind of person. Um, but yeah, as far as like, am I the guide to the ghost? Am I the guide to the people? I'm a bit of both. A lot of my audience, they had a natural curiosity with the whole spectral out there, though they weren't actively pursuing it, though they like the idea of, what if it's not all terrible afterwards? Like, what if we can talk to them? What if we can learn about them? But also, what if we could learn about ourselves in the process, so that we're not, as a society, constantly repeating the same sorts of hardships and traumas and concerns? Like, what can we learn from the past in order to understand the present and move towards a better future?
So when you meet with new people or in your seminars and things like that, you're sort of giving them a basis of how to tap into their. Are you telling everyone that they all have this ability and they need to tap into it and they could do this, or are there people it's like, look, you just might not have it, or do you know what I'm saying? How do you feel about this idea that anyone can be sort of connected? Does
Oh,
that make sense? Is that a shitty
yeah.
question? That might be a shitty
No,
question.
no, no. It's not. I promise. I do believe everybody has intuition. I call it what you like. Call it a gut feeling. Call it I just knew I shouldn't have been there. That's claircognizance. Gut feeling. Do you literally feel it in your gut? Also a form of clairsentience. Or do you just know something, or you feel like you're not alone, or you think you heard something, but like it didn't quite. So many people have experiences like this. And I think one of the things that makes me a little bit less popular with some of the other psychic mediums out there is I'm very much like, yeah, if everybody believed that they were psychic, if everybody believed that they could just trust themselves, because that's where psychicness comes from. It's trusting yourself to understand the information you're getting around you. I'd be fine with that. Like, some psychic mediums are very much like, oh, but if everybody can tap in like that, how will I get readings? I'm like, I do readings, but my primary thing is I want to tell stories. I want to make human connection with people. I want people to feel like they can just connect to whatever they believe in a safe and grounded and responsible way. This is why I'm not as popular with psychic mediums, because some of them are like, ghosts are evil. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but
Yeah.
not in my experience.
I love when Jesus freaks get into the chat. I absolutely love it. John knows that I absolutely love them telling me how evil we are. But no, I love how you do it. And look, I want to show everybody this. If you sign up on Rebekah's website, she has this go-to guide, right? And here's, dude, it's written like if you're a 6-year-old, you can understand this. And that's what's wonderful. I'm not saying that to be, I'm not making fun of you. I'm saying it because it's absolutely like, this is the exact way I want to be taught this stuff. And I just want the bottom line of what does all of it mean, from clairvoyance to is it a ghost? What are you feeling? How do you know what you're feeling? And then it gets into, how you protect yourself, from this and in those energies. Again, you got to sign up, go to RebekahTheGhostGuide.com, put in your email, and you got it for free. I mean, it's just this little chart. It's super cool. But let's talk about protecting yourself, because you talk to a lot of spirits. Now, John is a believer of intent. First and foremost, intent. He makes jokes about Jesus, crystal, salt, and sage, but it's really your mindset of intent. What do you do to protect yourself?
I absolutely agree with that. Like, these other elements out there, and I'm not knocking other elements. I mean, I'll burn incense from time to time. I'll do regular cleansings, whatever. But it's not the element that's used. It's the one who powers the element, which is oneself. I'm a big advocate for learning how to protect oneself. I know a lot of people, they're like, I'll call the angels, I'll call God, I'll call this, that, or the other. And I'm like, that's great. The way that I was trained, which was the school of hard knocks of not understanding anything that was around me and having to figure it out on the fly, the way that I was trained was to protect myself. Like, yes, I can go to other people. I can ask for help. Though I trained myself to protect me, and now I train others to protect themselves. As far as like the protection that I use, absolutely agree with intent. I do use some visualization. I always tell people, build up your shield, be the superhero you always wanted to be, or surround yourself with something. And a lot of people are like, the white light. And I'm like, sure, if that's what you want, it doesn't hurt anybody. I've found with some of the things, especially because I have had to go in and remove more not so nice things on occasion, just by working with clients and that sort of thing. Not ghosts, by the way, inhuman stuff.
Oh, dude, wait, you can't just drop a broad.
What I call them interdimensional entities of non-human origin is the safe term I use for that.
Wait,
that's beautiful.
Tell me a story.
It's nuts.
Wait, I want to hear a story. Tell me a story of this. Like, what does that mean to you? And tell me a story.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah, because I love that. That was a very long terminology for me, just to be like, yeah, there's some things out there. Real quick, I'll tell you how my shielding works, and then I'll get to the story, because I got a story for you. I have a few, but I'll get to one.
Yeah.
So with the shielding, my shield works very much like a boundary. It only hurts you if you cross it. And spirit can see that boundary. Like, I've got spikes in my shields. I've got all kinds of like electrical stuff. Like,
you visualize this. This is what you literally visual. Okay. Continue.
So, and the cool thing is, with knowing other psychically perceptive people, like I teach workshops, and I've asked them, I'm like, all right, I'm putting up the shield. What do you see? And then they all put it in the chat, and we get to cross-validate each other in real time. It is the coolest effing thing, which is why I'm like, psychics, let's all just like, if we understand how to tap in, it's so cool. But anyway, so yeah, my shields work. They don't have to hurt, but if you're going to cross my boundary, they can.
Okay.
Now, as far as something not so great and inhuman, something that comes to mind, this happened last year. I know I've done a few in the past, like more recently, but this is a more recent one, or one that's coming to mind, I should say. So the Wilmington Railroad Museum, I worked there for a time. Now I'm a board member. I am the unofficial like medium on staff. So when things go sideways, I get a call. And for the most part, it's totally fine. Like, it's a wonderful museum. I really love the spirits there. I'm protective of the spirits there. And oftentimes when things go sideways, I am called in to make the regular spirits more comfortable, just because we can't always control what's going in and out when it's a public venue. Well, they expanded last year into a new part. And some of the staff kept telling me, they're like, hey, I don't want to tell you, I don't want to prime you, but there's something going on over there. And I was like, uh-huh. So one of my viral videos from last year, which is hilarious to me, was me coughing up the stairs, because the farther I got up the stairs, the more I felt like something was choking me, which once again, that's a form of clairsentience. I'm going up the stairs. It's hitting me in the head. I know something not good is up there. So like, I'm going up the stairs, and I do this on a live, right? So like, it's just me and a camera, right? I'm just like going up the stairs, and other people in the live, they're like, turn around, don't go, da 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 da. And I was just like, hey, everybody, if I were afraid, I wouldn't be going, because fear messes up what I'm able to do. So I made a reaction, but afterwards I was like, okay, I'm up here. The worst thing about this was how this creature was utilizing a ghost to make others think that it was a ghost. What this thing was, it was huge. It was like it was like stooped over in this room. It had these really long limbs. It was like basically taking up the archive room at the time. And it had like this weird drippy looking face. Like, it looked like it came out of a nightmare. Though the first thing that I saw was a man. I saw a man in front of this being, and it just like a dude that had taken his own life through certain, I don't know what all I can say here.
You can say what you need to say.
Okay, it just looked like a man who was hanging, and I got this implication of like, okay, he made that decision. It seems like it was from a rafter. That wouldn't have been the craziest thing to hear from that location. We do have different information about people who pass there. Here's the thing though, I was like, but the man on the inside is empty. Like, I can't quite reach out to him. I can't quite have a conversation with him. I found out what this being had done. It took like the basic shred of the memory of this man and was holding it there so that if anybody came in to try to remove the larger thing, they would go for the symptom rather than the illness itself, aka this thing. So when I went in there, the first thing I had to do was free the imprint of the guy. I sent him on because there was not much left. It wasn't really a conversation. It was just being like, all right, we don't need to be here anymore. Like, you're good. This is awful. I'm so sorry this happened. Go wherever you need to go. From there, that's when I did the removal work to get that thing out of there. I'm a regular worker in underworld spaces, so I worked with some of my collaborative spirit folks, and we just yanked it all on a live.
That dripping face is a lot like, remember, we had a guest on, he goes by Real Ghost Hunter 1, Brandon Kramer, who had a photo of that dripping face in that basement of also a museum type situation.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, yeah.
Where it's like really wild. We show that, he has it on his site. He's another paranormal influence, but he caught it, an image of it, and it's really, check it out. His name's, again, Brandon Kramer. He goes by Real Ghost Hunter 1, but it was like, but it's odd that happens. It's like that Top Hat Man. It's like these similar sort of visions of things in various places that have some sort of connection. I don't know. Maybe there's no connection, but it just seems odd.
What's wild is when you said, again, I'm going to use the terminology, interdimensional entity of non-human origin, controlling, these other, fragments of spirits. I've come across the same thing. Some of these interdimensional entities have that ability. And when dealing with these things through a spirit box and like picking up the bits and pieces, it takes a bit before you realize, like, oh, wait a minute, this is what's going on here. The spirit's being controlled by something else. And it's wild. It's actually, I'm going somewhere tomorrow where I deal with that. I deal with what most people would consider a succubus.
Mm.
It's an entity that feeds off sexual energy,
Mhm.
and it also likes to control spirits in that manner. And I'm going to deal with that tomorrow, so that should be
What do
fun.
you think it is, Rebekah? What do you think when John says interdimensional entity? Where do you think it's from? What do you think this thing is?
I
If it's
mean,
not human.
it totally tracks. There are beings that come from all over. Like,
All over,
look at
all
any,
over.
look at any mythology. How many mythologies are there across the continent? And
Mhm.
think of it, how many mythologies have we lost due to colonialism?
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot of places that these beings come from. They come up from cracks. They come here to do different jobs. Sometimes they get stuck in the muck.
Yeah.
So they come from all over. And for some of them, especially in my line of work, I do try to compromise with just about everything. I try to look at something and say, all right, your morality is not human. It's not from this plane. Where's your home? Can we go home? Can I give you something? Can I work with you? Can I negotiate something? And for the most part, it works.
I agree with you 100%. The most evil thing can come through while I'm documenting, and I will first give it the benefit of the doubt. And I'll be like, hey, can we talk?
Mhm.
Can we just have a conversation before I have to, be like, okay, clearly I know what you're about and what you're going to do. Let's just leave it at that then. And it's true. They come from everywhere, everywhere. And a lot of people will assume, oh, they're coming straight from hell. And it's like, I wonder how many hell-like dimensions are actually out there. And what I describe as a hell-like dimension is any dimension that our energy or our memories or our spirit it'd be toxic for. Which is why, let me ask you something, Rebekah. Have you ever come across an entity from one of these hell-like dimensions that has no malice towards an actual person? It's there and maybe doesn't even realize what it's doing to, say, the humans in its vicinity.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, One being that comes to mind was under the Santa Monica Pier out in LA.
Oh shit.
And when I went
Well,
there,
I guess I can't go to the Santa Monica Pier anymore.
oh no, you
Thanks,
can go.
Rebekah.
No, you can go because it's gone. I'll tell you.
Okay.
No, I was out there with some people who are part of my workshops, and we had like a casual meetup, and we just went out there, and immediately all three of us were picking up on various things. I had not realized that people had taken their own life out there, though I could feel them, and I was like, that's weird. Like, just because one takes their own life, that doesn't mean that they have to stick around there. Like, that doesn't mean that they get stuck all the time. And I started to treat the symptom, right? I was just like, oh, okay, well, I'll just, see who I can talk to and be like, hey, is there a time in your life that you'd like to go to? Is there a time that you believe in, or like, what do you believe in? Can I help you go there? And what I found was a lot of these guys were being held by a being who actually so happened to be from one of the hell areas of the underworlds, I should say.
Oh, yeah,
And basically what this being was doing, it was doing its job, though it, for some reason, from what I understand when I was talking to it, which it was big, it was like under the ground, and it was like holding folks like as if they were tethered. And I talked to it, I was just like, what are you doing here? Like, you're just hanging on to these souls who I later looked up and verified different folks that I was seeing, which was very tragic. Though at least now there's something done, but I digress. I talked to this being, and I was just like, what are you, why are you here? And the being basically was like, oh, I'm doing my job. I hold souls when they feel a particular way about themselves, and this is what I do. And basically I work with one of the people I was with, and I was like, hey, let's see if we can move this guy back to hell. He wasn't bad. He was very much doing his job. And he's like, I'm doing a great job. I have all these guys here. And I was like, yeah, maybe we don't need them though. So from there, the being agreed to move on and go back to hell. Once again, not morally bad, was very much like, this is what I do. I hold souls. And I was like, cool. From there, that's when I was actually able to work with individual like pieces or fragments of those souls to be like, go home, go home, go home, go.
So All right, Rebekah, when you're dealing with something like that, and we know you put up a shield first, you protect yourself when you're getting in it. I think it's time I have to ask about Rupert.
Mm.
And how did the shield come down? And why don't you, I don't want to tell the story for you, but like, if you wouldn't mind sharing the story of this and how this came about to where that shield came down for you.
Yeah. So Rupert is also a part of my spiritual awakening. And I tell this to people often, like, you really want to tap into the other side. Love is a beautiful way to do that. And I don't just mean like ghosts. I mean, anybody who passes. A lot of people get interested in the beyond when people who they care about, their life is starting to go, in a particular direction, or maybe their health is going in a direction and they just want to understand. So with Rupert, when I first met him, well, he was very much a shred of a ghost. He had been out there for about 300 years. This was in Wilmington. I was walking home alone after a ghost tour. It was 2020. A lot of heightened feelings in every particular direction. A lot of things were going on. And I recall I was just so tired and walking past. And once again, just to go back in that time in my mind, I was like, I don't know if I'm making him up, but it doesn't hurt anybody to talk, right? And that's really how it started. He was worried that I was walking home alone. He was upset that nobody was walking with me. It was dark. He passed in 1781. He was a part of the Revolutionary Soldiers. He was with the English. Actually, working with him, I was actually then able to look at the history and do a deep dive and make connections around town with the historic sites. And it was so validating for me to be like, this is not the first time I'm learning about this, because I learned it from a ghost first, but I don't typically start that way with the general historian. That's typically not how I start a conversation. So basically for a period, I allowed him to walk with me for a few blocks. I was still very much like, stranger danger. I don't know who you are, but like, I'm pretty sure I could take you, right? Because you're a ghost, right? That's how that works. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just sort of like, he seems nice. He seems to care. It's kind of scary out here. Sure, I'll befriend a ghost. Really with him, though, he had a lot of work to do on himself. As I mentioned, ghosts are very much fragments of themselves. He was the fragment of himself that died looking for his love. He was murdered, and it was because he fell in love with a woman that I guess you could say he shouldn't have fallen in love with, according to the father of the woman.
Well, you said he was a redcoat, right?
He was a redcoat, yeah. So, yeah.
It's like, it's one thing to date a ghost, but dating a complete traitor at the time.
Well, and that's the thing. Wilmington, inside Wilmington, was pretty loyalist. However, all around Wilmington was not. And
rebels.
Yeah.
Technically, at the time, he wasn't the traitor. Technically, at the time, he was.
That's true.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the, he wasn't the rebels.
He called it a skirmish. Yeah. Like that was the funniest thing.
So you found this out about him. You're starting to get to know his story about whatever. He fell in love with the wrong person. You're getting closer in these conversations, right? You're getting closer in these connections.
Yeah. Well, he also started to confuse me with her. And it was weird because I remember at one point I was walking and he looked at me and he looked kind of startled. Of course, I'm seeing all this with my inner eye. So like, I kind of saw maybe an outline with my eyeball, but I was kind of like, I'm not a medium. Like, that's not what's going on here. Like, I can't see. And I remember once he was startled and he kind of looked at me and he said, "You're taller." And I was like, no, I'm not. Or another time he looked down and he was just like, "Your hair is darker." I was like, no. There were these little comments that he would kind of throw out, and I would just be like, I don't know what's going on. Well, as
this is a lot of Dracula vibes, by the way. Right?
Yeah,
like when it's my, like, you know what I'm saying?
I have one question in my head, but I'm waiting because actually, you know what? Before you tell the story, we'll I'll keep this simple as possible. Did you rebuild him in the sense as in new memory, or was he able to reconnect with old So, okay, all right, tell the
I don't know what
tell
you're
story.
saying. So then
Yeah,
you could fill in the blanks with John just saying, but
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
going. 'Cause I
yeah.
don't know what he's talking
I
about.
think this story is going to be epic. Please continue.
Yeah, John, with what you're saying, with what you've been telling me just on this call alone, I'm just like, psychic? What psychic? Psychic, John? Yeah, what psychic? uh, yeah,
Yeah.
because I think what you also just said there is something called claircognizance, where something kind of like bings in your brain, and you're like, wait, is it this? So anyway,
Well, what you're talking, it's almost. I have theories. We could talk about them another time, but it's just insane. What you? All right, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry. I'm sorry
no,
to
no, no.
interrupt. Go,
No,
please.
not at all. That was an amazing point, and I will explain that too. So basically, what was happening? I'll get to your point, and then I'll kind of fill in the punchline, so to speak, of what ended up happening. Um, when a spirit who's especially a fraction of themselves, when they're having to remember more and more and more, basically what they're doing, oftentimes without realizing it, is they're calling to the memories where the fuller part of their soul keeps them, whether that's this plane or the other, or something like that. So basically, the more he remembered, the more of himself he became, which, once again, that's also a mental health journey. Mental health journeys can happen after passing as well, because we have to be like, whoa, how did I get here? Why did I get here? And poor Rupert, he went through a time where he was like, I don't know if I exist. And I was like, well, if you don't exist, I don't know who I'm talking to. Like, I have a fantastical brain sometimes, but there were things that I was like, I don't think I could make that up, because that was totally out of the blue. Like, there was no train of thought that brought my brain to thinking that conclusion. Anyway, so there was a time that we spent apart. I was not sure if he would still be there when I got back. And part of that was I was living in a bus. It was 2020. We didn't know what was happening. So I was like, I will move into a bus. Okay. I do a lot of mental health work. I come back. I'm more certain of myself. And I come back. I'm with a friend who is spiritually sensitive. And I tried to connect with Rupert first, because I was like, hey, I'm back in town. If you want to talk again, just wondering. I could feel him around, but he wasn't saying anything. So I was like, cool, maybe I'm crazy. It's fine. I bring my friend. And my friend is like, oh, there's a man standing behind you. And I was like, cool. And he was like, oh, I'm picking up on a soldier. And I was like, cool. What kind of coat is he wearing? He was like, oh, it's a red coat. I was like, okay. And then my friend makes this reaction because he heard the same thing that I heard. And my friend just looks at me and it's just like, yeah, he's telling the truth. And I was like, excuse me? What I heard, and granted, what I get is more inner ear clairaudience. So it's like the understanding of words that I hear. Rupert just outed, he was like, you're my wife. And I was like, whoa, let's calm down here, right? Because I was just like, we passed the point. Like, what in the world? So, of course, I go back later and I was like, were you going to tell me? Are you going to explain yourself? What are you talking about, right? And he was like, well, I wanted to tell you in front of somebody who would also hear it. And I was just like, still, you're making no sense. What are you talking about? And then he started to explain. He said, you're my Mary. I was like, excuse me? And he said, you're Mary. You're the woman who I was with when I was alive. Now, from there, I was like, cool. Let's put a pin on that. Let's just close that conversation, because I'm like, yo, I didn't know how to trust myself. I didn't know what I was doing. So I actually, a past life regressionist found me on the internet and was like, hey, would you like a free session? I'll give you the free session in exchange for promotion. And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. I go into this and I was very like, whatever I'm supposed to see, I'll see. I go into the regression. And I remember the first thing as I was coming out of the tunnel, so to speak, when you get into that very regressed state, it was like coming out of this sort of tunnel. And then I started to smell piss and fish. And I started to hear seagulls. And I started to like pick up on people who were fishing and boats and bells and that kind of thing. And when I came out, I saw Wilmington, but I saw it the way that I had seen it in what had been drawn out from different things in the past. But I started to walk around this regression and I started to see things that I hadn't yet found in history. And then I saw him.
Doesn't
And
sound like a very nice first date.
no, no. So yeah, that's how all that happened. And all the same, like, we've done a lot of work separately in order to be able to understand each other personally.
Are you still in communication with this person, with
Oh
this
yeah.
ghost?
Mhm.
But okay, but you made a point to say like you were dating him.
Mhm.
Is that is that still the case?
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean to say you're dating a spirit?
Okay. Well, of course, for anybody who's dating anybody, there's a whole spectrum of what dating means for them. And I'll just go ahead and get this out of the way because people are always like, but physically. And I'm just like, are you going to tell an ace person that they have a lesser relationship because it's not physical? Like, are you going to tell people who maybe they have issues with, physically performing, but they do what they can for one another to make another person feel loved and for them to also feel loved? I didn't go looking for this. Like, that was not on my bingo card. I know part of what we were talking about is like people who are attracted to ghosts. Nope. I wasn't sitting around being like, oh, but if a ghost, no.
I think there's a word for it, like spectrophilia or something.
Yeah, you
There
asked.
is. There is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
that's not your case.
That's not
yeah.
what
Not
I
at
said.
all.
Okay.
This
You
is
actually taught me that word because I was just like, what? There's a word for this?
The internet. We can find a lot
So
of stuff on the internet. All right.
if I finally start giving into all the spirits that hit on me, that's spectrophilia.
No, when a guy does it, it's weirder. It's gross.
What's it called? What's it called when a
I
dude
don't know.
does it?
I don't know. I just don't. It just
What kind
feels
of
gross.
sexy
It feels
shit is
gross
that?
when you do it. It's just going to be different when you do it. That's all I
I get
know.
hit on by both men and women
I
spirits.
know. It's
That's
just that
actually
when
one
you
of
do
my
it, it's wrong.
favorite things.
That's all. I don't know much, but I know when you do it, it's going to be wrong.
Listen,
But wait.
whenever a male spirit comes through that hits on me,
Excellent.
I'm just like, yo, bring it on. Bring it on. First off, who knows what that poor spirit was going through back
Mhm.
then
Oh, yeah.
with their sexuality and themselves and not to be able to express how they truly were, So for them to be able to do it to me, I'm all like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, you're
I'm
a big
like,
bear. They love you.
yeah, yeah. I'm like,
So
bring
Rebekah,
it
hold
on.
on. I want to get this set. So it's like, all right, I totally hear what you're saying. There's an intimacy that you have when the communicating with the spirit. It doesn't have to be physical, and that's why you can say how you consider dating. Is that fair? Is that a fair
Yeah.
assessment? But you're dating someone, and a human person,
A human person.
a living human person too,
Yeah.
right? All right, now
So,
here's the thing. All right, it's like I have to say, it would probably almost be worse if my wife found out I was having like telling secrets to someone than if I was just having a physical relationship with someone else. Like she would probably find that more offensive that I was intimate on a personal level. How does your living partner deal with that element? You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
you the sharing of that.
So, okay, just to start out, my living partner, Theron, who's been in the chat, thank you, Theron, is incredible. We have a lot of communication. And on top of it, just to kind of rewind a little bit, I told Rupert from the gate, I was like, you're not getting in the way of me living a full physical experience. And that's a huge thing that I tell people all the time. I'm like, yes, you can have connections with ghosts and spirit guides and past loved ones. And, love doesn't just die with a body. Like, we still have these connections of love on various forms. That being said, we can't live in the past. I can't live as who I was when somebody was alive. With Rupert, a big thing that we had to come to terms with, I was like, hey, I am not Mary anymore. She's a part of me, but I've had lives that I've lived since then. Sometimes I curse like a sailor. It's the summer. I show a lot of skin sometimes. And I was just like, that's pretty different from the 1700s. Like, are you sure you actually have feelings for me? So we had to grow from that to ensure that it wasn't just like, holding out for something that used to be. Now,
Oh, Rupert probably loves seeing shins based on the way they dressed back then.
I mean,
He's probably like, whoa, now.
Yeah.
he may, but he
shin
doesn't
high
like that
dress?
everybody else can see them. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah. It's probably a whole different thing.
So going back to Theron, though, Theron is somebody that I met through TikTok years ago, and we befriended each other. And Theron also had a kind of re-coming out as a psychic medium. Theron knew Rupert before Theron and I started dating. They talked first. They have a friendship on their own. And one, it's cool to have cross validation and be like, wait, did he tell you that? He did? He told me that too. Oh my God, we're psychic, right? That's a regular thing in our house where we're just like, you heard that? I heard that too. Psychic, you know?
Right.
I'm all for like, you know, making people feel more validated and, you know, once again in a grounded way. But yeah, it's in a sense, or not in a sense, but I'm technically polyamorous, but I'm not polyamorous in the physical sense. I have two relationships and they
Well,
don't
I don't,
cross
not
each
to
other
cut you
out.
off, but I don't
Sure.
think what you have can be described with words. To be honest with you, it just doesn't. You know, it seemed like the whole thing developed just so naturally, completely out of your wheelhouse. Not, as you said, not something on your, something you wanted to achieve or something you were going for. Almost like a go with the flow kind of thing. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
I think
It
it's awesome.
made me believe in fate, honestly.
Yeah.
Before that, I was kind of like, I don't know. And then there were just too many things that I couldn't explain away, which was pretty cool.
Can I ask how you, if I can, if it's, you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious, like, how do you identify in just generally in sort of, you know, would you say from a living sense, you're on the, like the LGBTQ?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, would you say you were like poly before that?
Mhm.
I know
Oh, yeah.
polyamorous is more than one, but it's okay. Got it.
Yeah, I've been in open relationships before, consensual, open relationships and that sort of thing. It takes a lot of communication, and like, I'm not knocking it. I just happen to be in such a happy living situation. Like, goodness, and that's not knocking anybody else's poly. I tell my partner all the time, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just happy. I used to be interested in dating other people and that kind of thing, and it was never on the back burner or like behind anybody's back. I was just sort of like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I feel pretty good.
Well, look, this is a very unique situation that you found yourself in with what sounds like a very sort of powerful spirit that can come through this often, this regularly, this intimately, right? And
He's
have these kind
grown.
of conversations.
Yeah.
What would you get? Would you give what kind of advice do you give to your students or to anybody else who might be feeling this or might have this happen to them? Should they be like, look, I'm a unique situation, but before you put down that spiked electric shield, you better do this, this, and this? Like, is there sort of is there a rule book to this that you've created because of it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So one, generally speaking, I don't recommend dating ghosts because a lot of reasons, but
For tons of
for a lot of reasons. Yeah.
Nice.
And
All
that's,
right, I'll say it. Your average normal person should not date a spirit.
No.
Should not date a ghost.
no.
Yes.
100%. I'll say it.
Yeah.
You don't got it. I'll say it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Okay.
Right. But
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. I think too, even for the person who's more open to this and that kind of thing, you have to acknowledge ghosts have a lot of things sometimes that they really have to overcome, and you can't be their savior, and they can't view you as their savior. They've got to do that work on their own. And some of them, when they do the work, they're kind of like, I'm kind of tired. I don't really want to be here anymore. That's another thing too. I tell people, I'm like, mediums are not the saviors of ghosts. If they come to a place where they're like, I'm tired, I want to go home, they can just go. They don't need us. We can help, but they don't need us. Anyway.
You know what's funny, real quick?
Mhm.
What I always tell people is I always get tons of people. They're like, "Oh, are you going to send the spirit to the light?" I go, "Yo, imagine that light is some interdimensional force that rips apart the soul and feeds it to its young. Like, you really want to send it to the light now? Like stuff like that."
Yeah, if you don't know what the light is, and if you can't connect with them on what their version of the light is,
Yep.
maybe just leave it be. Just,
Leave it be.
hear them
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
Um, but goodness,
We're talking about
just
protecting
threw out.
yourself. What would you
Yes.
tell other people? Like, what would be like the rules of or things to check before doing what getting too
Yeah.
close?
And thank you for repeating the question, because I was just like, my brain went
That's right.
all the way over here.
I deal
Okay.
with this guy. I got to repeat myself 15 times.
Yeah. That's the ADHD for me. I'm all
Yeah.
every direction.
It's something new.
Thank you. Yeah. So one of the things, and I say this in the pamphlet as well, which of course is open to everybody for free, you understanding your sense of self is going to be your best tool for protection. Because if you know how you feel, you're going to pick up on pretty quickly if you don't feel right. And then you get to ask yourself the question, is that how I feel? Or is that something around me that's trying to project some kind of understanding at me? What can I learn from that? So the biggest protection, I would say, is understanding oneself. Once again, going back to that mental health journey. If you know you, you're going to know what's not you. And if you know it's not you, then you can actually, further the amping up and being like, all you need is your intention. I work with kids sometimes through consultations. I work with their parents and children. And sometimes these kids will be afraid, and I'll just be like, okay, what does your favorite superhero do? Oh, they throw a punch and then fire comes out of their fist. I'm like, what if you could do that too? And kids, you don't really have to tell them twice. They'll be like, I can do that. I'm like, yep. Seeing is believing. All you got to do is believe. And is it literal fire in our sense? No. Though, can that have an effect on an energetic sense if they put their intention behind it? And I teach parents too. I'm like, this is how you also protect your kids. Believe them. I mean, even if they decide it's made up later, just be like, hey, cool. What is, this, I think Power Ranger, because I'm of the 90s, but like I was just like, what does the Power Ranger do? But yeah, parents can do that too. It's imagination, quote, quote, but to spirit, it doesn't have to be, and it can
Intent,
still be very
when it comes to
effective.
spirits, intent is everything.
Absolutely.
100%. 100%.
This is
Power Ranger analogy, by the way.
Power Rangers.
That's
Power
funny.
Rangers.
This is a fascinating tale, Rebekah. I can't thank you enough for sharing it with us here. John, I don't know what else to say. Like, I hope everybody.
I know what I'm gonna say.
Well, everybody,
You're
first of all,
awesome. Never change. And honestly, you're literally the first person that I've spoken to in the years that I've been doing this that comes from a spiritual lens of all this, that my more logical lens basically almost goes right over, and
well, look,
and
logical
you're
makes it
seeing
sound like
through it.
hers is not logical. Let's
No,
use
no,
the
no.
word more.
No.
It's more
It's like,
scientific.
he understands what I'm saying, because I
Do
have
you mean it like? Do you see what I'm
See?
saying? Like John's theory is like memory. Spirits are the fractured memories of the living, right? That we all have an energy. We do, right? There's literally electric synapses in our brain, and that energy has to go somewhere when we pass, and the mind is somehow attached to that, and it has to go somewhere. We don't know nobody knows what the mind is, right? That's where he's coming from. So let's use the word scientific more than logical, because then you make it sound like I like what.
Well, I can't use
I like
scientific
what
because
you're
I'm not a
saying.
scientist.
Mine's a little more logical than what you're saying.
No.
But it's like you got to say it more like I have a come from a less spiritual.
You knew what I
approach.
meant.
I did.
I just wanted to clear it
knew
up.
what
I
I
wanted
meant.
to think
Well, you're
insulting.
awesome. Never change, okay?
you.
Please.
No, you haven't
You are
listened.
so awesome. One of my favorite guests to date. So awesome.
Yeah, Rebekah,
yo.
you're a lot of fun. I love your approach to things. I love your lighthearted
amazing.
approach to it. It's like you really take a stand that's like, this is not something, this is not all doom and gloom. It's not, we're not playing up into the, the Blumhouse version of spirits. This is the, here's what it is. Here's a fun way to do it. I use fun, but here's like, it is what it is. So let's enjoy it. Let's get into it. Let's enjoy it. And I find that to be an interesting take and a unique take, because that's what we try to do. We're not into the whole, we're not into all the darkness and all that stuff. It's like, it's
Listen,
just not.
it happens sometimes. You're gonna.
We're talking about ghosts, man.
I
mean, it's like, what are we gonna? How serious can you be? Like, at a certain point, it's like we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, like, if we can't laugh at this and like understand it and respect it, like that we don't know. It's like, I don't know about you, but I find it's so amazing to me when people get in the chat or they get online to one of our videos or something, or John's videos, and like, this is what it is. This is what it has to be. It's this.
It's
And
so
it's like,
wild.
what are you talking? It's almost like if they said, nope, vampires don't like garlic. It's like, hey, Dick, vampires aren't real as far as we know, and who knows if they are, if their garlic is a real thing. Somebody made that up. So it's, but they are sure of it. They're so sure of everything that is. So I like that you come at it from that sense as well, where it's like, I don't know what this is. I'm rolling with it until it's not. I'm not going to roll with it anymore. And how you should protect yourself. It's really interesting stuff, and I really thank you for being here, everyone. You got to go check out Rebekah the Ghost Guide she's on every social media platform, and go to her website. She also offers readings. You can set up a session. Am I wrong? You do all these things for people?
Yeah.
Where you can also make a buck, hopefully. Do it, show her some love. Because she has a really great approach to all of this whole world. And as far as spirit communication goes, I'd say you've been communicating.
Thank you.
More so than most. You know what I mean? That whole vibe is real interesting. I got nothing else for you. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with us. It's been a real pleasure. And a real
All the
honor.
questions I have will take hours, which I don't have, unfortunately.
We'll have to have you back.
Today,
I'll come back.
have to have you back.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, y'all are great, and I appreciate your mindset as well. I sometimes I prefer talking to people who are more in the ghost vibe than like the higher and everything like that, because I'm just like, we're out here, we're living, and I like connecting with folks that are also just doing their best, whether they know if they're living or not.
It's true.
I know. At least ghosts don't leave dishes in the sink.
Yeah.
So it might be better to have them around sometimes.
Might start blaming them for it, though.
Good luck with that. Maybe they'll put them up.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
Good luck with that.
Like, the spirit did that one, not me. The spirit did
accidentally pulled
if only.
Listen, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. Make sure you check out her socials. Check out her website. Can't wait to have you on again. And you've been awesome.
Awesome.
Rebekah, thank you. We'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That was so fun.
Incredible. She's incredible.
Right?
It's great.
Mean, how fun was she? And
Amazing.
There's really nobody like that tone. There's very few people that have a tone that's similar to how, your approach to this.
Well, what's wild about everything that she speaks about, I can literally back up with my theories. That's why when she started with that story, and I was like, wait a minute, are you saying that, you rebuilt that spirit? Like, it's pretty wild. It's awesome.
Yeah, right. But it's another person. We spoke to somebody else too that was like, had a little bit of a more spiritual take, but still on the note of frequency, on the note of the memories, on the note of energy, which still plays into a lot, but they have the spiritual side of it where it comes from, which is fine. It's like everyone's thing, but also the idea of other, you call them interdimensional non-human entities. She called them, I forget what her exact, but it was sort of non-human, some sort of non-human entity. Yeah. It really is
what's wild about that. I know we don't have time to talk about it, but what's wild about that is how accurate her non-human interdimensional entities are compared to the ones that I come across. Like how accurate it is. You know what it reminds me of?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of The Matrix. Do you remember in The Matrix how there were certain creatures that were pure code?
Yes.
Like the French guy. And it's just like he just does this job, but he was never a human, but he's a bit of code, or the key maker, right? That's his code, but he's like there. And that's how that's what I think of. Yeah. I go to that place where it's like when you start talking about these things that are non-human, they're part of this, whatever we call this thing, this area that they're in, and they have a job. They have a job to do of some kind.
A job to do. It's wild. Hey, Gary, listen, this has been great.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Another great one in, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. She's awesome. Make sure you check her out on everything. Website, her socials, Rebekah the Ghost Guide. Definitely worth checking out.
That's her link right below. Real easy to find. We appreciate everybody who checked in for this episode. You know, if you missed it, don't worry. I'll be posting it soon. That was a great one. So, John, I'll let
Gary,
you go. See you, buddy.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, my man. That's it for this live episode of Splintered Spirits. Be sure to like and subscribe at our YouTube channel, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time.